This conference will now be recorded.
All right, see you tomorrow.
All right, so how is everyone?
Peachy.
Peachy. All right. So should we take this? It looks like we maybe have some people that aren't normally in here. I'm Brian with Thunder Laser, and I'm going to let the other Thunder representatives introduce themselves. We'll kind of make this try to follow. Is producer Jim here? He's not here to follow our program, but I'm Brian and Chris. One of you.
I'm Chris, one of the others.
One of the others.
I'm also
See you
Chris.
tomorrow.
He's also one of the others. So awesome. Looks like we're getting some people in. That's great. So this started off being kind of a ask questions pre-sales kind of thing, but it's kind of taken its own turns and ended up into kind of being just a roundtable discussion. A water cooler almost chat room as it would. So sometimes we may get off topic. The primary thing is to answer any questions anybody has. So if you have any, feel free to jump in at any time and uh, make sure that we don't jump off on a tangent. But everybody's welcome. And if you'd like to just jump in and introduce yourself, you can. Or if not, I won't put you on the spot. Somebody else may. But if you have any questions throughout the thing, feel free to just jump right in and chime in.
I do like that Shannon's got her machine running back there.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see the gantry moving.
Yeah.
We'll be on and off, Brian. We'll be
Okay.
listening in, but we've got clients coming and 2 out of 3 lasers running, so bear with us.
Well, let's go
Gotcha.
make some
Gotcha.
money.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
What's up,
Yes,
Mike?
we can.
Yes.
Hey, I'm a new guy. Don't even have my machine set up yet, but I wanted to pop on here, and I'll probably be a regular moving forward as I kind of progress along. So I probably won't be chiming in too much, but I just want to say hello.
Hey, all right. Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome.
Hi guys, I'm Bill. New to this. I've got my laser in January,
Mhm.
so I'm still learning it. I learned about this on yesterday's sales call. I didn't know this session existed, so hopefully I'll be a
Awesome.
regular.
Okay. Awesome. Good to have
What'd
you.
you and what'd you think of that yesterday? Did it go all right? It was our
I thought
first
it went
one, so it
well,
was kind of.
except for the guy trying to harass everybody.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't even catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We,
didn't see
we,
that,
we
but
found out he was a marketing guy for probably one of our competitors. So pot calling the kettle black, so to speak.
well, it sounded well.
So,
I think somebody's doing a little play on words over here with their named name, not Thunder L.
oh
Might
yeah,
need to
that
might
was
need to
that
get a.
was the
That was the
handle
one.
of that one.
Sorry, I had to. I was hoping Tommy would chime in.
So, all right. Well, if anybody has any questions or comments or whatever,
Well,
just let us know.
I one of the Chris's responded to me. I was trying to figure out how to get my fan to turn on and off um, with a switch.
Mhm.
And one of you guys led me to a support page, and I opened the side of my laser and I stared at the panel for about 20 minutes, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't know if anybody else has done that before or has any pictures of what that would look like. I got a switch on Amazon.
Mhm.
Uh,
So there's a couple of ways to actually do that. One is to actually add a physical switch, and that's where you tie into two wires that are on that TL timer board. And of course, making that connection, best practices for low voltage stuff is usually, whether you use well, they make those taps. You could tap into it. I don't prefer those because it may cut part of the wire. There's a couple of different ways to make that happen. Chris also has another article that I don't think requires as much
Eh,
connecting. Is it? Isn't it just moving stuff
it's
around?
yeah, it's mostly taking existing wires, moving the chiller off of one, and then moving the fan to the main contactor. I think the only thing you got to do is maybe snip one wire, and That's it.
Yeah. And it may
Um,
be a little less invasive and require a little less tools or connections or crimp caps, that kind of thing. Is there a reason that you want, and I know that's common, a lot of people want to run them, beyond when the machine's just running. But are you experiencing anything in particular that's making you need to run the laser? Or is it just a preference thing?
No, it's actually not when I'm doing the laser. For example, I'm putting like Rubio monocoat on some boards in the basement, and I just want that
Gotcha.
ventilation. I have
I
another,
gotcha.
but I only have that one hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I can probably just open the lid and use this.
Yeah. Well, I've used my machine as a paint booth before doing the same thing. Of course, I reach down and flip the TL timer switch, but that kicks on the air assist too,
Hmm. Yeah.
but that's the way I did it. So I see where you're going, but yeah, that switch, you basically just have to connect to those two positions, um, strip the wire back, cut them, crimp them back together in some fashion. And if you want some guidance on that, we could, help give you some of that step by step too, if that,
Yeah, I mean,
or show you some connectors or something that would maybe facilitate that without having to know how to solder and heat shrink. You know what I mean? There's some ways
yeah,
that we could probably make that happen.
yeah. I mean, I have a solder gun sitting there. I was gonna, do it. I bought one of these switches on
Okay.
Amazon, and I
Mhm.
bought just some 18 gauge wire, which is
Okay.
what it looks
Perfect.
like it is. And it has these connectors for the switch. But and I looked at the board and I know which two black wires to touch. I just didn't know, like for example, if it's coming out of the board and I cut that wire on both sides, um, I would solder into the part going into the board and then put the switch in between that on each side.
No, I think the way that would look
He
is
taps.
one wire, it would be tapped in. So if you have your original wire, you would snip
Okay.
it and then attach those two back together and then put the other one. So the idea
Okay.
is one wire from the switch goes to one of those wires that you have to get it connected to, and the other one
Okay.
goes to the other. So it's not in series, if that's what
Yeah,
you're
that
asking.
yeah, that makes total sense now because I wasn't sure if I was like, breaking those two wires going to different
Hmm.
places on the board or if I was just tapping into them on each side.
Right, just tapping into them. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot more clear.
Gotcha.
So
And we can update that article to say that's what is happening, because that is a good question. Because a lot of times the switch is put in series with something. So
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
I put a little T-tap kit off of Amazon. It's got different gauges and stuff. Basically gives you a way of basically crossing over the voltages to trigger the relay. That may be helpful for you. It's like $8.
Okay.
yeah, that's in the chat. There's a link to it in the chat there.
Okay, perfect.
So
Yeah, that
and
was
that's
helpful.
yeah, awesome. You got anything else while you got us? We'll be glad to help with anything you may have.
Well,
Otherwise, we'll have some awkward silence.
no,
I gotta.
I'm still learning. I'm a software developer by day, so this is something that I like to do. I bought a sawmill about 3 years ago, 4 years
Mhm.
ago, and I started milling wood, cut my trees down, and then I'm like I started selling the wood, and then all of a sudden I went to a show and seen some laser stuff, and I'm like I bought like a little Ortor, little 15-inch one, and used it for like a year and a half, and doing really well. So I'm like it's time to upgrade. So I almost went with a different brand, and a guy at a craft show was like, "No, you need to look at Thunder. I promise you won't go wrong." So still learning it. Still trying to figure out, the heads. Like I have the 4-inch head I bought for cutting, thicker wood. It looks like it lays down like a wider when it cuts. I don't know if that's normal or not. Versus like the 2-inch head. Um, haven't really. I got the high res head, but I haven't really tried it yet. Um, but I haven't had any issues so far, other than just sitting down and learning it.
Okay. Sure. Sure. All right.
Hey, Bill.
So anybody else got anything?
Yeah, so I got
Yeah,
one
there
more
you go.
question for Bill. Um, looks like if you're down in your shop now, do you have a way of air coming into your space so that you can actually flow air through?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I have them small windows in the
Okay,
basement with the little vents. So I usually open those up on the other end of the basement and
Perfect.
does a pretty good job. Because like I said, before I had the Thunder, I had that small Ortor and it had the same, I had a 6-inch vent on it and I do the same thing. But I just
Hmm.
had like a little switch I'd turn on and off when I was doing anything that was going to
Yeah.
smell. Because I'm right below my wife's bedroom, below her
Gotcha.
bedroom. It's like,
Yeah. And those inline fans, they move some air when they're pulled up. It'll circulate that room air out pretty quick.
actually, I do. This is probably just a testing question, but any tips? My buddy has a sign shop, so I went down and got some of his acrylic, and I forget which acrylic I need, but it's the right acrylic. Um, what I wanted to do was cut some templates out so I can use that acrylic as templates for like with a router for cutting boards and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, I've never done acrylic before. I don't know if you guys have any tips on doing that.
So if you're just cutting, you can get the extruded. If the cast acrylic engraves much better, and you get more contrast and more frost look than you do with acrylic. But if you're making stencils or jigs or just cutting things out, not engraving on it, extruded's a little cheaper, and it usually cuts as well as the cast. So just for future reference, because I know cast is a little more expensive. Um,
Okay.
as far as cutting it, you're going to walk a fine line between getting a decent cut and having a fire, basically, because with acrylics, you're using much lower air volumes than you would if you're cutting organics or other things or thicker items. So you may not need actually a flame polished edge if you're going to be using that, as a template for a router, even if
Yeah.
you have some really tiny vertical striations in it, and it's not perfectly flame polished, you don't care about the visual edge. You're using it, as a guide. So that might not even come into play there. So I don't know in that particular use for the acrylic, I don't know if I would overthink the cut. If it comes out clean and it works for your template, you're probably good to go. But there are some best practices to get a flame polished edge, and not have those striations and some of the things you can see on acrylic cuts sometimes.
I have the 51-130. I don't even know what settings to try. If there's a template to try, I think one of you guys had a template for the engraving on it. I just want to cut it.
Yeah. So the material test file that we have on our site will do an engraving test and a cut test. So you'll be able to look at, some different examples of a range of speeds and powers for both engraving and cutting. And you can just ignore the engraving part and look at, what the output is on that test for the cuts. And that'll help you narrow it down. We also have the material sheets, the libraries. There's a Lightburn one you can download, and then there's a PDF
Yeah.
version, and it's not super comprehensive, but it kind of, if you find something close to that thickness under the acrylic uh, category, that'll get you in the ballpark anyway. You may have to dial it in a little bit, but that can help you narrow it down too.
Okay. So there's
And
a
Bill,
test cut file on there for acrylic too.
Well, it's for any material,
Okay.
and you basically just run it on anything you've got and then look at the resultant output, and that's how you determine what your settings are for
Yeah.
that material.
I have the new one. I think Brian or somebody put up there.
Here's
Um,
producer Jim.
Hey,
And
I
I
got
think Shannon had a question too. Shannon, you were raising your hand. You're on mute, so
Okay.
there
Can
you
you
go.
hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not being obnoxious. Okay, so I have a couple questions. So I have not done my training yet to preface. So everything I know about this, I've kind of taught myself by going through the knowledge base, but I wanted to like really screw up everything I possibly could before I scheduled that. So,
Sure.
Hey, we like that. That is perfect.
so I'm working on
You
it.
don't know how far a pencil will bend until you actually break it, right? So,
That's exactly right. So one of the things that I'm having the most trouble with is granite, and I can't find a like comprehensive like guides on best practices for it anywhere. So my first one, I run a parrot rescue, and I bought this laser to support the rescue, which is a nonprofit. I opened an LLC to do that, and So we're doing like signs and like a bunch of like tumblers and, you know, like pretty detailed tumblers. We're doing some cool stuff. One of the things I want to do is like memorials for pets and make that affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And so my very first option, my very first try is my own personal bird, and it looked awesome. And then I didn't write anything down because I'm an idiot, and now I can't figure anything out. Every single one of them past that, I can't get to go back, and I am flummoxed by Lightburn, and I don't know what I did on this that's different than this for the right settings. So I have a 6300 watt, and I can't get it right.
So the best thing for you to do at this point is definitely schedule the training. And if you don't get me, let us know, and
Okay.
we'll schedule you with me, because I'll help you with that. We'll go through photos. Since you're already doing well, and you have a baseline, we can actually just concentrate on photos specifically and granite.
Okay.
Super easy to do, but the granite is very, very temperamental, as you're finding out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we can dial that in, and it's just a couple little things that people miss. But for the most part, they don't like power, so very, very low power. They don't like high DPI because the material just can't absorb the heat. So they tend to freckle or basically just turn white everywhere. So low DPI, and we'll go through all of that. Just schedule your training, and we'll deal just with photos.
Okay, cool. The second question I have is, when my camera arrived, the little sticky stuff that's on it was already kind of screwed up. So when I mounted it, it doesn't ever stay. So I got some of that alien tape to put up there, and that's not working. And so it's constantly kind of falling off or like getting jostled, or it's always out of not working properly.
Send us a ticket,
So-
and we'll send you some new tape.
Okay,
So support at thunderlaserusa.com.
perfect. All right, I can do that. Oh, and one more question on the test files. So when you download a new test file, does it reset on Lightburn, or does it go through all of the stuff that you've changed your little colors to on Lightburn? Do you understand what I mean? Like, so you on Lightburn, you've got 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3 across the board with colors, right? So every time you do a cut or a line or a fill or like whatever in those, and you change your settings, then that's just the new setting for that color.
As long as
It
you're
will
in the same
remember.
instance. Yeah. Well, see, the other thing is are you doing one project in Lightburn and saving that file and then opening another project and saving that file? Or are you just basically opening Lightburn, pulling in your art, and then working on it from there without saving it?
Yeah, that.
Okay. So if you set your layer settings the way you want them in Lightburn and save that particular job, they will be retained. When you open them up, it'll be the same. If you download our material test file, open up a new Lightburn, there's 40 different settings in there. It's going to make all those layers different. If you close that out, open another, a new project, it may keep those settings. So the way to prevent that is every job that you do, save it as a Lightburn file so that each of your settings are retained for each specific job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes it does. Okay, that's helpful.
That would
Okay.
also help once you dial in your photo settings. You go, dang, I have it perfect. Hit the save button, save it as a Lightburn file, and then you can always go back and refer to that.
And you're not gonna use 29 different layers. So if you have something specific that you're doing, I typically tell people to save that specific item to a layer that you normally wouldn't use. Like I use
Okay.
black, blue, and red are my engrave, cut, and score. That's all I use for that. But if I was doing something all the time, I would save it as a different color. I would default it to those parameters, and I would always use that color for that specific thing.
The other option is populating your library. So you can take the library that we include, which needs some work. They're not perfect. or you can create your very own library. And there's some articles and documentation about the Lightburn library that can help with that. So you can actually create a digital library so you can choose these settings and apply them to the layers. So you'll actually have a list, this is my granite, this is my tumbler settings, and you can actually have a personalized list that you've developed and still save them in that format.
And then I have one last question. Do you have creators that use Thunder lasers that you recommend for like tutorials and all of that? Like, do you have a list of those guys that we can follow from like a soup to nuts guide for all of it?
A lot of the stuff that we reference comes off of our YouTube channel, and a lot of the stuff that we reference comes from Computer Creations with a Z, Robert Kofed on YouTube. He does a really good job. Now, Tommy and Lois, they just popped back in. The Angry Craftsman, I believe that's it. Is that right? There he is back there. Get angry for me. They're also starting to produce content and that kind of thing, so they're a good resource. There's a lot of stuff out there. Is there a one de facto list of here's all the people? Not exactly. Some of that information is kind of obscure. But again, either in the Facebook groups, that's a great place to ask because people are really helpful there, or we can answer something like that for you if you're looking for some specific content. On how to do something, we can help distill some of that information and get you the right stuff also.
And then there's this guy we know.
Is there a Lightburn guide that is like better than others?
If you'll go to the help tab in Lightburn, you can go to their online documentation, and their documentation is phenomenal. It is full of YouTube videos, which will take you to their channel, and that is a great resource. There are a few things that are a little bit different.
Too.
Yeah, they are. They're doing a great job with their documentation. We got to step our game up a little bit. There are a few little minor things that are different with Thunder than maybe with other lasers. Like we have the high and low air assist settings and, some things like that. But usually that general information, because, Lightburn works on diode lasers. It works on a variety of different CO2 lasers. So some of the information you get's a little more generalized. You might have to read between the lines a little bit, but they have a great resource in themselves. So.
Okay, cool. I just learned that they were bird people too, which is very cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then also, if you want, when you hover over any button in Lightburn, you use a computer or a PC or a Mac. Mac. So you'll be hitting your globe or your FN button and then the F1 button at the same time, and it'll bring you right to Lightburn's documents on it.
For whatever really that function is. So,
yeah. Right. And I think it was kind of sporadic in the past, but I think they finally have all of the buttons registered now. You're muted again, Shannon.
Sorry, my air compressor came on and it's obnoxious.
That's all right.
Yeah, I see it. It's working. I can.
Okay.
It's doing that. That's cool. Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, since
There's this other guy.
Shannon mentioned compressor, that's one of the other things I was trying to figure out was getting a better air assist. But there's so many different compressors out there. I'm just, trying to get ideas of what I should be looking for.
As a general rule, if you're going to be running that laser constantly, if you're production, if you're running it all day long, you probably don't want something like I have, which is a Cali Air. I've got a little 8-gallon. Mine holds up just fine, but I'm more of a hobbyist and a tinkerer. I don't run it, heavy. I guess a loose general rule would be the bigger the tank and the bigger the compressor, the more flow you're going to get without it having to cycle so much, which may be something that you're, want to consider if you're going to be running it more of a higher duty cycle.
Does it make a big
Quiet Tech 26 from Lowe's is a good budget friendly compressor. Yeah, it's Quiet Tech 26, the 26-gallon
Okay.
brushless compressor. They're really good. I used those for the longest time until I got in my current shop, and now I have a much larger one. But those are really good, and they have a warranty on them as well. So
So when you are shopping, you'll see a lot of manufacturers claim they're quiet. Be sure to read the full decibel rating because some places are, oh, if it's under 80 dB, it's quiet. I've got mine, it's under 40 dB, so we can have a conversation right next to it where some people think 60 or so dB is still quiet, so watch for that.
Yeah, I
It's
the
went
all
up.
about
the
letting space.
quiet tech's like 70 dB, I think, for the quiet tech.
Yeah, that's not
That's not
Which
quiet.
is,
quiet.
well, no, but for the proper $300, I mean, you're not going to probably find anything better for that kind of money.
Mhm.
That's going to put out that volume, that CFM.
I have mine in a foam room, so I don't hear it.
It's a shop. Things are noisy.
Was that your old room?
We just got that Cobalt one. It's like a 30-gallon and it's loud, but I've got it. The building that I bought for the rescue has like a loading bay in it. So I've got it downstairs and now we can hear each other like think. But when it was in here, that it was really, and it's one of those quiet ones, but it's not quiet.
So is it in a space that has a similar atmosphere as your machine from a temperature and
It
humidity
is.
standpoint? All right, perfect. Because as people
Yeah.
start getting these bigger compressors, they're putting them outside. Depending on where you live in the country, it could be 95% humidity out. So
You
gotta
need
watch
a
for
good
that.
air drying. You need a good air drying or moisture trap system, regardless, really, if you're using anything other than a diaphragm pump.
Yeah.
We've got that installed and then it's got this, I don't know if you guys can see it. There's like a wood floor here. And so we've
Mhm.
got it close to the building downstairs, like we call it the Shire because you have to kind of like dip to go down there, but we're all tall. But it's yeah, it works pretty good.
Got a bunch of new people on here. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Anybody feel free to just jump in and say what you want to say anytime you like.
Are you
Hey,
sure
Brian.
you want to give me that authority? Give me that option.
Well, that's
You're not
different.
part of that. Yeah, you're not part of
I
that.
keep my mouse hovered over your mic icon just in case.
Hey,
It turns out, Brian,
Jim's better seen than heard.
I'm glad I logged on today because the connector did not fit on that red dot pointer.
Okay.
So
If you can return that one and shoot us a message at support@thunderlaserusa.com and I'll send you a link. We have a few that we keep for warranty, but I have enough extra. I think I can get one to you. One of the stock
okay.
ones.
All
Was that
right.
the
I'm
Cloud
on
Ray
a
option B?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
so.
It's the D12 by 30 millimeter. That's the one that I ordered, but I just now tried plugging it in and it doesn't fit.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, CloudRay may have changed that connector. You see what I mean? And we wouldn't have known about that. We don't know
Right.
how they standardize stuff. So that we took, I think I took that off the article, didn't I, Chris? The links, since
I
a
can
couple of them were being
check.
problematic. If not, we need to, but I think I did, or at least made a note that maybe there was an issue with that. But I've got enough here that I can get one to you. So if you'll just
Right.
email us, I'll get you the link to it. I'm
You
not
actually
passing out.
responded to me just a couple of weeks ago on the user forum, and that was the link that
Gotcha.
you
Yeah.
sent.
Yeah, well, I'll send you our ecom link if you'll email us. I'm not putting those out publicly yet because we don't have enough stock to support everybody coming in and just getting on the click and order site and just going to town yet. So we're trying to control that for a little bit while we build up our stock on some of these things. But I'll be glad to send you the link to our ecom. I'll get it out to you, as quick as the order can come in. So.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I removed it.
So there
It's
I
weird 'cause
was.
it seemed to have worked early on. It's got the right physical dimensions.
It does. The barrel connector, even though now some of them would fit. The last two that I had issues with, the
Yeah.
barrel connector would even fit, but it just wouldn't power it up. It wasn't making a connection inside for some reason.
So they
So
send a power supply with those.
they do, and that'll work. And that powers the old one, which is weird.
Really?
Mine didn't
Yeah.
come with a power supply. Mine just came
What?
with just the red dot. That
Well,
was it.
there's two options, and if you didn't get the power supply, that's okay because you already have a source for it. It's just that
Right.
connector's not right.
Right.
Yeah. But they have a couple of options. That's the thing. They change that stuff from time to time. So we're gonna try to keep everything in house from now on. So anybody has anything? What about you, Jason? I saw you kick on for a minute. Talk about your patent thing for a minute. I want to hear about it.
Well, the design patent got approved.
Okay.
Still waiting on the utility, but at least the design part's done, so we can start looking at those avenues. But yeah, and we got some other stuff coming in. I know we got to call or talk tomorrow about some
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. About some moving forward. Yeah, that's that stuff
But
we can't talk about yet. Wink, wink, hint, hint. I just pulled a grant.
yeah, but yeah, other than that, I mean, we're still plugging along. Got the Ascends out. I know Thunder's got one of them to test out and see if they want to bring it on board.
Mhm.
And
Should we get that out of Texas?
Huh?
Should we get that out of Texas?
Get it to
you
one
gotta
of
talk
us.
you gotta talk to Grant about that. He wanted it back in Texas, so that's where it went to. But
I mean, he could
I
look
mean, we
at
can
it, shine it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Let's say the
I mean, if
person that should
he's
probably use it is this dude right here in Florida.
Yeah.
I was
Me?
gonna
Well, if
say,
he'd ever come visit.
let's say Grant can look at it, but does he know how to use it?
yeah, he knows how to use it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
mean
wish he was in here.
the good thing about it is it's the same setup as all the other ones, as long as you follow the manual, not the videos.
Yeah.
But
Well, make us
but yeah,
some
so
accurate videos.
that's trust me, it's on my to-do list.
Word.
I'm trying.
I
But
got this. I got this on recording, man.
Mm.
what's that?
That you're gonna make
I
us
won't get.
some OEM videos.
Oh, well. I mean, I got videos on the Roboboss YouTube page, but nobody watches them.
Are they? If they're Thunder specific, we can use.
You watch them. Jump.
We're losing.
Roberts and
We're losing you,
other
Jason.
people.
Jason, just send me one and I'll make you videos.
Well, I mean, they are Thunder specific, I guess, because
You have to have your clothes on, Jim.
they are Thunder specific, and yeah, and the lights on, that'll scare everybody. But the videos, I mean, they have the Thunder. They're, that's really all I use anymore. So I mean, it's all driven around, the Thunder lasers. But yeah, I
Sure.
definitely have plans to do like setup videos and I'm not doing like rap stuff. They don't do that, but the basic setup parts and how to use it. And I've got other videos on there, what they are, what the differences are, things like that. It's just like I said, they don't get many views. So if people aren't watching them, I mean, they're not doing anybody any good. But yeah, I'll definitely get some. If you got ideas or whatever, like specifically for things that you guys get for trouble, or anybody listening, if you have ideas for things that you want to see as far as the rotaries go and how to set them up, the way that I've designed them and to function and everything, then just let me know. I can gear the videos around that stuff.
Cool.
You guys ever try on the rotary put like a pretty round log on there and doing it versus like a tumbler?
I've done baseball
But
bats,
it's
flute.
It's
flowering
doable. It's just
ends. I've done so many different things on there, so it's not just limited to tumblers at all.
yeah.
Urns.
The
I've done urns for crematory. I have a crematory down the street, and they bring me urns every once in a while. So absolutely, you can put whatever you want on there.
Yeah,
the
I
best
don't.
the best the
Go
best
ahead.
one for stuff like that would be the new Ascend, because you can actually, it's got I call it a pass through, but it's basically unobstructed path across the whole top of the rotary. So like I just did a video recently of doing a baseball bat laying across it. So in a lot of cases, like especially if you have like the Odin 32 or the 35 or something like that, and you got a full length bat, once you have the rotary in there, then you set the bat on it the way you can do it on a regular rotary. You may not have the room for the rest of the bat. So with the Ascend, you can basically set the rotary in the middle of the laser and then lay your piece across it, so you can get the full use of the bed size.
Yeah, I have on my property I have white ash trees that the beetles wiped out. So, we're starting to take them down, and I'm looking at the branches, and they get these really cool designs that the beetles made under the bark. And I'm like, what if I put this on a rotary? If I got round logs, would I be able to engrave, something on it? I haven't tried. I don't even
I,
have the rotary.
I'd give it a shot. I mean, it may be a little bit irregular, if the surface,
Yeah.
it may not track true like a dowel would if you had something that was turned or something. But I'd definitely give it a shot as long
Well,
as it didn't jump or skip or any of that kind of stuff.
the best way to
And
do that
and
would
use
just be to
a
find your smoothest part of it and set that on the rotary, and kind of find that sweet spot where you get it turning as even as you can. And even if you had the 4-inch lens, that'd be optimal for something like that, because it will allow for more deviations as it rotates. But
I
it
thought
should be
about
doable.
I thought about taking something like maybe foam and cutting a circle out and sliding it over the log, so I have a true like round area to rest on there. I haven't tried. I don't have the rotary tool yet, but I was going to buy one.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Just cut you out some foam to even it out on both ends if it's tapered or whatever. That would definitely help.
I mean, I have so
so
much of that. If I can make it something out of it for people to buy, that'd be awesome.
so if you were listening yesterday to the webinar, the rotary tool is where really I got my start and where I made money and was successful. And with a tumbler, 3 to 5 minutes for a standard logo, $10 to $20 each 3 to 5 minutes. Something like you're talking about, there's a lot of money to be made there. So that'll be a very, very worthwhile purchase for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jason, question I got for
Yeah.
him: would not your Ascend with the chuck be better? Because then he could chuck on almost exactly like he would be with a lathe. And yeah, you're going to
Yeah,
see
I mean
deviations in it, but if
What
it's a
is an
fairly straight
Ascend?
log.
once it's
out.
available, yeah, that would be a potential option for it. But it all comes down to how straight the log is, or the branch.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
The weight of it, you don't really have to worry about. I mean, you could probably put 20 pounds on there before it would even, start affecting anything. But it's just more trying to find something that's as straight as possible.
Yeah, I'm
Is
talking like
ideal.
maybe like 3 or 4 inch like candle holders, maybe where I put an engraving on it, something like that.
Do you have a lathe?
Yeah.
I don't have one. What do you mean by Ascend? I don't know what that is.
It's another rotary.
Ascend is our newest rotary that we got. It's on rotaryattachments.com. You can see it there. It's our newest one. Like I said before, that Thunder's got it for testing to see if they want to bring it on board as one of their products.
Oh, okay.
So right now, if you wanted one, it would go through me. But the Junior and the Rotoboss would go through Thunder directly, because they're our distributor for Thunder lasers.
Definitely something I'm gonna. I call it my lab because I'm still learning and figuring out what I can make.
Yeah, the
We're
doctors
we're all
call it a
still learning,
practice.
so don't feel bad.
Yeah.
It's called a practice for a reason because they never they never know it all. But just don't be
How about
afraid to mess things up. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know, just the key is obviously learning from those mistakes and getting better and perfecting the craft. Really.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I haven't done it before, but I thought about doing like maybe like a deep engraving and doing an inlay. Um, I don't know if you guys have done that because I have thick hardwood and I have thin hardwood. I was thinking about just being instead of cutting the wood and doing an inlay, just maybe doing like maybe an 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch deep engraving and then
Yeah.
place that piece down in there, the thin piece. Have you guys done that
Yeah,
before?
so
I've done that. I've
something
done
that
that
I did
with
for
guitars.
yeah, that's something that I did with a guitar as well with Mother of Pearl. So we
Yep.
engraved, we cut the mother of pearl, inlaid it, and then he finished it with a sand to level it out.
Nice.
Fairly simple. The only thing is it's hard to perfect the depth on the engraving, just because of grains of wood and different densities and stuff like that. But if you're going to plan to finish it afterwards, it's fairly simple to do.
Yeah, I've done the engravings with the epoxy backfill, and those work well.
Right.
I wanted to try like a wood
Yeah.
inlay. Just playing with the kerf a
Yeah.
little bit.
Have you viewed anything or watched any videos on the kerf and how to adjust the kerf offset?
No, that's my next experiment. I haven't really researched it yet.
Hey, Chris,
It's
do you know of anybody that might have
pretty.
a
It's
video on that?
pretty simple to do. I mean, you do your initial cut with no kerf, and then you slowly increase. Like on my 63 130 with a 4-inch lens, my kerf offset is 0.425 or 0.0425. I can't remember. To get a nice
Inches or
snug fit.
millimeters?
What?
Inches or millimeters? You got to be units.
Millimeters. So the point, I think, like I said, I think it's 0.425, and that gives me a perfect press fit for an inlay. Cause there's a company here that does puzzles, and they got new machines, so they're basically converting all their old plat new machines. So I got to cut out a space in their new plat and cut out the old one and insert it in there, and it has to be a tight fit. So I mean that's all I did. I made some 1-inch squares and just tested it. Cut one 1-inch square without a kerf offset, and then just played with the kerf offset until I found the right spot for it to fit into.
Yeah, that at least gives me a starting point for the kerf setting because I have no idea what to even.
But with a 2-inch lens or 2.5-inch lens, you're probably looking at about half of that, maybe a third less, up to a half less. So somewhere around 0.2 would probably be a good safe starting point for a 2.5-inch lens.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just something you got to play with and find, because I mean every laser is going to be different based on the alignment and how the laser beam's hitting and all that. So it's not a true science to where every machine's probably going to be the same, but just something you got to play with.
Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, I put a link in the YouTube or in the chat to my YouTube channel, and I have a video on kerf offset for inlays. And then also you might want to watch the one for power scale, and that'll help you with your cuts as well. So you can limit the amount of little objects or squares or circles you're doing. The cut range is very limited, where you're going to either cut through or it's going to be a score. So I kind of like to limit that to like 5 or 6 different shapes, and then go from there. So the kerf offset one will be good for you, and then also the power scale video will help you out.
Where did you put the link?
It's in the chat. So if you look at your the browser that you have open in the top right hand corner.
It didn't
Yeah, I'm in the
go.
chat. I don't see it.
Did you send it to everybody or did you send it to a specific person?
Yeah, I might have sent it privately. That would be on me,
Good job.
but I can fix that. I can fix that though, easily. There you go.
There, I see it now.
Oh,
Hey, which one of you two has my Autoboss still?
Myers.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to do a little more repair on it. You know, that bracket that got damaged in shipping, threaded
I thought I
rod
sent you a new
also.
one.
You did, and I did that.
Oh.
And then the other week I pulled it off my desk, and the threaded rod for the vertical adjustment had come out of the little thing on that same little bracket. So I fixed it. It took 2 seconds, but it's on my list of things to tinker with.
Oh.
Part of that
We have long lists here.
yeah,
Oh, you're not the only one.
yeah. Now we were putting together a list of measuring the wheels, the height, the clearance of the gantries, the laser head positions to kind of figure out what tumbler sizes fit in each one. So I pulled that thing down. I started measuring. And I was like, oh, hey, this thing is loose. So 2-minute fix or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
No
but
worries.
yeah, I got to get to it. Got to get to it.
I'd like to welcome to the party Dr. Thunder and his evil nemesis sitting behind him, or his cohort, whatever it is. Eric.
Dr. Thunder.
I was ready to
Now-
anything on Earth just the two that just showed up. So is that like
I gotta say-
Frankenstein and Igor?
Yeah, we
Is
just
that who
don't
it
know.
was?
We just don't know which one. We don't know which one's which. So
I'll say, Jim, your current setup makes it look like somebody's getting interviewed from the first 48. You know how they like blacken their face out? It's very eerie.
There's a reason his face is darked out.
I'm wanted in too many states.
Brian goes light and Jim goes dark.
Man, I've got all my windows covered up. I don't even know if it's daylight in here or not, or outside.
Oh, geez. Sit back.
That's why you work till like 4 a.m.
Yep. Take the clock away. I don't know when I'm working and when I'm not working, right? It all just
sounds like
becomes a
Vegas,
blur.
huh?
Yeah,
Amen to that.
oxygen in there. Have the wife bring you some monsters, and you'll be good to go.
That's right.
Know that all too well.
Yeah, the wife was all hoping I'd be civilized looking now because she knows that this is the time of the year that the beard typically gets cut short. Well, this year I decided to shave my head and I left the beard. She's not overly happy with it because I told her, I says, now I'm going for the whole entire year to see how long my beard actually gets because I've never let it grow a year.
You need to shave your eyebrows too.
Huh?
You need to shave
You
your
get our
eyebrows
age,
too.
you have to.
Shave the eye muffs.
I don't have any that much. But no, this
Glasses
means
we
it's
do
going
have
to
a
be a year and a half.
There are a couple of other new people on here. HPC, Mark. If anybody wants to chime in, feel free. I mean, we have 10 more minutes before we go not live.
I'm
Not
wondering if
Thunder L.
I'm wondering if not Thunder L is actually Thunder L. We were talking about that earlier, Grant, that we figured out pretty quick that it was the pot calling the kettle black because that was a marketer for some other company saying that we had.
Yeah. So I'm glad I caught that in the live so I could say something about it because they were stirring up some crap.
Yeah, you
What
did
did I
well.
miss on that?
Oh, and I missed something stirring up crap. I could have had all kinds of fun with that.
Well, it's like I always say, if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right, you know?
That's
and
correct.
they can
Funny
do
thing
whatever
is,
they
I've never
want
heard of
to
that
us.
company before.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. We do what we do, and we're going to keep on doing what we do, and we'll just let everything else roll off. But it still gets at you.
Yeah, but I
If
coulda had
anybody
fun.
doesn't know, the whole staff, the whole Thunder family, we're pretty passionate about our machines and our culture. So we get a little animated sometimes.
A little bit.
You know, and you know, the higher ups at B just flew us all out to Texas, and we had a powwow for 2 days, and good things are coming, and you could be pretty confident in the system, the team, and the machines you have in place. For
Yeah,
sure.
we've got some new things coming too.
Ooh,
I can't talk about.
We already pulled a grant. I'm glad you doubled down on it, man. I want to say something so bad. This is going to be so great, you guys. Man, I'm excited.
Then I was
Grant,
busting
we
on
would-
Grant.
Two new
Then I,
things.
then I was busting on
Two new
Grant,
things.
and he wasn't even
Well,
here. I was
and
supporting
they
him.
One of them's
yeah,
already out of
the
the bag
one
though.
yeah one of them's already out of the bag, and it should be here. It's stuck in Miami right now. Should be here this week. So in 2 weeks, make sure you're on here, and we'll be using it and playing around with it and creating some UV light with it.
I thought we weren't going to talk about it until
Oh.
after we created stuff for it.
No. This is.
I think y'all
This
already
one's,
wasted that one.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
Hopefully in a few months.
You're in
We'll
Florida.
do the right thing on the next one. Can we? Can I
Right.
call? Can I
The
give
other
it a
one
nickname?
we're waiting on that one.
No.
So if you make Grant's screen full screen, you can read the notes on his whiteboard, and he'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. Made
Oh, yeah.
Eric look.
Oh, hide that. It's all over.
I was like, wait, what?
I see that they took his water cooler away from him, so he's not that important anymore.
Well,
That's okay, because I was getting
now
made
he
fun
makes
of.
he makes Eric get him some water for him now. That's the rub.
Oh, that's what it is.
I'm like, no
So-
comment.
So Jason, you're with Rotoboss? I'm looking at that site now.
I am Rotoboss.
Oh, you are Rotoboss. Okay, that's
Yes.
cool.
Actually,
I was
it's the name.
I was an assistant fire chief for 28 years, volunteer. I've been a firefighter for 38 years.
Sweet.
Brian,
I did a little stint myself, yeah, in Christiana here at our volunteer department. I made it to assistant chief. I was on there about 15 years. I
Yeah,
did
there
a
you go.
lot of the training, and my favorite part was evoc and the technical rescue stuff. I'm more of a techie geek, so flowing water and all that stuff, figuring out all the flow, what losses and stuff like that. I enjoyed all that stuff, the technical aspect of it. I liked helping people too, of course, and running emergency traffic. That's always great. Hitting that queue, there's nothing like it.
Every
Yes,
call's
if
I guess
you
before
have
we
any
all get off-
questions, if you have any questions Rotary related, I'm the one you're talking to.
good. I'm gonna bug you.
unless you go through Thunder, but either way, I'm
Mhm.
still here to help as well. So
I
Okay.
got one Rotary related. I saw an attachment that was like a heel that goes on the back to replace that, the thing that goes on the Rotoboss. How do I get that?
Mhm. You can get that through our site. It's
Through
a
the Rotoboss
add-on.
site?
Yes, the RotaryAttachments.com,
Okay.
and it's the spring-loaded heel wheel. It was made basically because a lot of people are doing wraps and stuff now. With a typical design, a little bit of walking, which is normal in most cases, is not that big of a deal. But when you're doing wraps, obviously that little bit of walking goes a long way when you're trying to go around the whole cup. So that's kind of why that was made. And then the Ascend actually has that comes with it. It's part of it stock. It's just the Rotoboss and the Junior don't. But if anybody has one, it'll fit anything from current to back when they were first made. So if anybody wanted one, it doesn't matter which rotary you have, it'll fit on there.
I still have that first acrylic Rotoboss Junior, I think it is. And I remember I was going to send it to you, and then I was like, no, I'll take it apart and do it myself. Well, it's in a box in pieces, so I may send it to you and get you to do the metal upgrade on it for me.
That's usually how it works. People get it, and then they just.
We need to have a confession from Grant down there. How's
A
fatherhood?
confession? Oh.
How's father? The true story of fatherhood. How
That's
are you
right.
liking it?
Grant's a fairly new dad. So
Hey,
you need to,
Grant,
yeah.
Grant, you have 6 minutes. Do not answer the question.
Plead the fifth. Plead the fifth.
Yeah, we do need to make sure nobody else has a question before we get into the after party, after the disclaimer, of course. But if not, yeah.
I don't know.
I
The
mean,
disclaimer is as bad as the after
I kind of
party or
have a
not.
question, but I feel like this isn't the right platform for it. I just was, I don't know. I think what I really need to
Great.
do, like I said, I'm not even fully set up yet. But one
Okay.
of the things that I'm planning on doing is a lot of softwood photo work.
Okay.
But I don't really know that this is the right platform for that. I think it's going to be play around for a little bit and schedule something with Chris is probably going to be the better way to go there. You
Yeah.
want to, yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
So no, I guess I
photo,
didn't really have a question. I'll just go back to keeping quiet.
photo stuff is definitely Chris's or Loco's area of expertise for sure.
Yeah, we can get you dialed in. Not a problem. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, people just don't even consider. So once you know that and understand that, you can be very consistent, very often.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be glad to help you out with that. Even if you want to email support, if you have some questions, we can give you some best practices and that kind of thing. That'd be a good venue because most of our resources are digital in nature, and we can make those readily available and shoot them to you,
Yeah, I
effectively.
mean,
So
for now, honestly, I'm just going to keep digging into the knowledge base. That's what I've been doing. And like I said, I don't even have the machine up and running yet, so I can't even test anything out yet. So, but
sure,
I'm
sure.
hoping that
And
by the next session 2 weeks from now, I'll have some more beef to talk
Sure.
about.
and Mike, use that YouTube channel. I go through a lot of my details of photos on that YouTube channel.
I have it pulled up
So
in front of me right now. You're talking about the House of Lasers one, right?
yeah, that'll kill some
Yep.
hours. So yeah,
Yep.
use that, and it'll get you to a good point, and then I can probably fine tune you afterwards.
All right, that sounds good.
Are we ready to grill Grant?
Yep.
I'll stop the recording.